Did I survive? I did. I'm going to start with Bad Bunny today. I was going to get to it yesterday, but I was watching the Super Bowl, and quite frankly, I was busy, and the kids were playing, and we're having a good time. I'm not going to freak out over Bad Bunny, right? Watching people lose their shit. How did we get here? How do we get to a point where we have to have two separate Super Bowls, halftime shows? Because this one is upstanding, and this one over here is Latin. He hates America. Where does he say he hates America? Well, he doesn't like ice. Is that hating America? How was his show, Chad? It was fine. It was good. It was entertaining, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a big reggaeton fan. I find what he did to be fine. Again, it was, but he, by the way, if you want to know how big it was, 135 million people tuned in to watch the halftime show. That's a record, most viewed halftime show of all time. What? And then I see everybody out there, TPUSA. Well, we got 20 million. Go look at Apple. Apple on YouTube has 33 million watching Bad Bunny. Yeah. So this isn't who's better, who's this bigger. It was what it was, right? You could sit there and dance, have a little fun. The all of the stuff going on was kind of neat, right? Like the sets were incredible. There was a marriage, there was an actual wedding going on. I guess those people invited him to a wedding, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you just do it here?" And so that was awesome, and it was fine. It was fine, but he hates America. He doesn't hate America. You can have a problem with a portion of what you see to be wrong in America and not hate America, right? Am I right? Or is this? Could we not do two things at once? I think we can. I think it's totally fine. We can sit there and go, okay, I get it. He doesn't, he's not a fan of what he sees to be injustice when it comes to immigration. I have a lot of issues with the way that the immigration deportations are being handled, and I've been very open about that. And I think we need to take control of it. But it was a halftime show. Oh, let me tell you the other thing. It's a business. I didn't curse. I want the kids if they were listening. But it's a business. It's a business. A bunch of people text me today, listen to my morning shows. And they were like, you don't understand. This is about us. It's our game. No, they want to make it the world's game. See, you want to keep it here, right? Right? This is the tent. They want to expand the tent. There's a reason that next year, down under, they're going to be playing American football down under. There's a reason they're going back to Brazil, right? They're going to Mexico again. There's a reason for all of those things. They want to expand the tent. In fact, dare I say, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a team in South America before we get a team full-time in Europe. Ooh. Expand the tent. Expand the tent. That's what you do. You expand the tent. It's a dollars thing, yo. Well, what? His numbers through the roof. Can't even pretend to know how big his numbers are. Somewhere about 93 million streams a day. Billions of streams a year. Yes, last year, even bigger than T-Swift. Even bigger than T-Swift. What? Yes, but it's a business. It's what it is. And the same people that are pissed off and we're going to have our own separate thing, guess what? They're playing into their business as well. Now, I watched, a majority of the halftime show with Bad Bunny, and I watched some of the TPUSA one, and it was what it was. It was. I told my wife, kind of feels like, right? It's a mega church worship concert at times, but it wasn't bad. But we're so divided over what? Music now? Music? By the way, opening the show on the field was Green Day. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, Bad Bunny, he loves America a lot more than Green Day loves Trump. They hate Trump with a passion. Wasn't a lot of talk about that. Why? Because they're punk rockers. They're Green Day. We expect that. By the way, my punk rockers, I want them to be against all things when it comes to the power structure. I don't care who's in office. I want them to be against all things. That's part of the fun of punk. But we get over it. Now we move on. There's other shit to handle. The fact that, Trump comes out afterwards. And I think somebody said earlier that they think that he actually had this, typed up and ready to roll. Super Bowl halftime show is absolutely terrible. One of the worst ever. It makes no sense. It's an affront to the greatness of America and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. Nobody understands a word this guy is saying. And the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching from throughout the USA and all over the world. This show is just a slap in our face to our country, which is setting new standards and records every single day, including the best stock market 401ks in history. There's nothing inspirational at this mess of the halftime show. And watch. It will be great reviews from the fake news media because they haven't got a clue of what's going on in the real world. And by the way, the NFL should immediately replace this ridiculous new kickoff rule. Make America great again, President Donald J. Trump, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, Trump has railed against the new kickoff rule for quite a while. And I like the new kickoff rule for one of the big reasons is if you kick it into the end zone, they get the ball at the 35. Okay. So you try to place it right from the 20-yard line to the, to where the end zone begins. So they have to run the ball. That's why it's cool. If you're going to go back to the old ways, all of the kickers will just kick the ball out of the end zone and nothing's going to happen. There's more action this way. But they don't like that. It's uncomfortable. It's all this new stuff's uncomfortable to me. It was fine. Get over it. It's about business, and business was booming. The NFL, people, well, it wasn't good. It's not meant for you. It wasn't meant for me, right? I'm a 55-year-old dude. You're a cracker. I get it. It wasn't meant for me. I can appreciate the style. I can appreciate the stuff, but it wasn't meant for Chad. It wasn't. Dude's got massive fans, arguably right now, biggest artist in the world. But he wears a dress. I was laughing about that. I said, you like David Bowie? Oh, I love Bowie. He wore a dress all the time. All kinds of crazy stuff. Do you love Queen? Oh, I freaking love Queen. I want to break free. Yeah, go look at that video. Right there, he did something for when he wore that dress thing that everybody talked about over a woman who was trans who was murdered. And that was kind of the big thing. It's like, oh, he's going to come out, he's going to wear a dress. None of that stuff happened. All right. There was no crazy stuff that took place. No F you America. He said, God bless America. All of the things. It was love, triumphs over hate, et cetera, et cetera. It was fine. Get over yourselves. There's bigger things to deal with. There's no doubt. But it was funny, though, the way that this turned into something that it should never have turned into because we are ridiculous in this country, for God's sakes. We agree on 80% of the shit that goes on in the world, right? We all want decent borders. Some people want them open up a little bit more. Some people want them shut a little bit more. But for the most place, we want the same thing, right? We want people that have come here to acclimate into our society, to become a part of our society, to give and to be a part of that, and to become an American, right? We all want good schools and safe schools. All of the things that we may disagree on how we want to get to some of those places, but the reality is we want about 80% of the same shit. But those 20% wackadoos sit out there and just, it just sucks. Gee, many cricket. All right, we move from there to Epstein. The ghost of Epstein, you're saying, you're going to be visited by 3 pedophiles. So the ghost of Epstein is rearing its ugly head again. And today people could get a look at the names that were unredacted. And even before the Super Bowl started, I don't know if you guys saw the commercial with the victims of Epstein and kind of like how it was redacted, their names, they had tape over their mouths and they were holding, I thought it was powerful. They're holding up pictures of this girl deserves, truth and stuff. And it was a picture of them as a younger child. This isn't going anywhere. And I've told people this for a long time. Go look at Watergate. 2+ years before, from the break-in to the chaos to all the stuff, slow build. And I'm not saying that Trump is in, any of this stuff. I'm just saying go look at how long this stuff takes. The hiding, all of this stuff, the continual running and blocking and doing the runaround and not showing people stuff. And this was a debacle that the Republicans in particular, this administration made far worse and continue to do so. So this isn't over by any stretch of the imagination. And I think we're going to get, more and more come out here and there, bits and pieces. Howard Lutnick is one. And, supposedly they were acquaintances and then they weren't, and then they hung out and then they didn't. And there's you never know the real truth. One thing I do know is they did meet after he went to jail for being a scumbag earlier and got that sweetheart deal. Oh, see, that's my big thing. Who knew that he had gone to jail, right? Who knew that and continued to hang out with him? And the only person I see getting in any trouble is former Prince Andrew. And now Keir Starmer, who looks like he is destined to be the former prime minister in, I would say, days. Most of his cabinet is bouncing. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that his the handling not only of a lot of this stuff, but if you guys remember, he appointed to be the Peter Mandelson, the UK ambassador to the US, despite his ties with Epstein. And then you come to find out when all this stuff gets leaked that there's a whole shit ton more of stuff that this guy did. So you've had several people inside of his cabinet bounce, and they're having some serious issues here. And I don't think he's longed for this prime minister gig that he has right now. And then you've got breaking news earlier today that apparently Prince Andrew, when he was hanging out with Epstein, happened to be like a trade, envoy or ambassador, and he spilled some secrets to Epstein that may have caused some issues. And you look up and you're like, really? Really? Now they're like, we need to talk to him about that. And you're like, wow, he's the only one. Because remember, Epstein, he only trafficked to himself. Remember that. So do I think it's over by a long shot? I don't. And, people ask me, well, what if it's Trump or what if it's this? Look, if we have scumbags who've done horrific things, I don't care who you are. I don't give a shit. They need to go down. I think everybody should agree with that. I don't find the controversy in any of those things. There shouldn't be a controversy. If you have done horrible things and molested women or young girls and did horrific things, and if you indeed were a part of this, no matter who you are, you need to go down. That's it. And if it causes our government to have a panic and collapse and to go and decide, then that's what it does. But protecting people that did horrific things, for me, that's a no-go. That is an absolute no-go. So we'll see what comes of this. And the other thing I want to talk about tonight, Thomas Massie, who obviously has led the charge for this, which makes me laugh. And then, you got a lot of people out there that they're coming for Massie, right? They're coming for Massie. You don't even know they're coming for Massie. Trump hates Massie. He does. Trump hates Massie. So Thomas Massie is running for re-election. And Trump is coming hard for him, and it makes me laugh. And the disdain that the Republicans who follow Trump to a T have online for Massie is huge. Now, by the way, people say Massie's he's a rhino. I'm like, is he? Oh, because he cares about the debt. That makes him a rhino because he only votes with Trump 91% of the time. And he's a free thinker. No, I don't think he's a rhino. I think what he is probably a conservatarian in many cases. But they're spending a ton of money to come after him in a major way. And I laugh. I said, all right, well, let's see what's going to happen. People are like, we're going to come get him. Look at this. We're going to boat race him. And I start laughing. And I said, you guys do understand that if you go and you blow Massie out, let's just say you do, you win in a primary with somebody who's super MAGA, and they're spending a ton of money on the primary opponent. Let me find out who he is. They're spending a ton of money, and that includes like Adelson and all these kind of stuff, the machine that's coming from him. So as they spend all this money on this guy, right, to come and crush him, remember, winning a primary is not winning the general. Would he win the general? I don't know. Depends, right? Depends on if he can get a lot of independents, maybe even some Democrats in there. I don't know. Maybe he can't. Maybe he can. So the guy is a retired Navy SEAL, right? Because you need one of those to come after him. And they're spending God knows how much to destroy Massie. And I laugh and I say, you know what? If I'm Massie, you do everything you can. You bust your ass, obviously. Keep doing what you're doing. Ed Gallerin is his name. And see what happens. But I would remind the Republicans, let's just say for the sake of argument, you do happen to win the primary and it's closed. What's to stop me from running as an independent? And what's to stop me from siphoning off a ton of those votes where we may cancel each other out and a Democrat may win? Always a possibility in that situation, which is, again, interesting. Look, do I think Massie will pull this one out? It's going to be close. They're spending a ton of money. Depending on what polls you're looking at, he's up. Depending on some polls, he's down. I think it'll be closer than, because it's a primary. What do we always talk about the primaries? Primaries are so weird because how many times have we seen people that we know aren't going to win the primary? Because who usually comes out for the primary? It's the hardcore that are driven, that are going to come out, and they end up getting just enough of a small sample size to get through. But when it comes to the general, they struggle. And we've seen a lot of that. And I'm sure this guy's a good dude and all that stuff. But the reality, Trump doesn't like Massie. And a lot of it has to do with the Epstein stuff. And a lot of it has to do with him working with Ro Khanna on this. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he has told Trump on numerous occasions, no. So it's going to be interesting in how this plays out. But I do remind you guys, should things go a little sideways and he decides, you know what, F you guys, I'm going to run as an independent. A, I think he'd have a decent shot. But B, there's no doubt he would probably cancel out a decent amount in his district and may allow the Democrat to become not only in play, but may allow the Democrat to get over. And all of a sudden you've lost Massie, who voted with you 91% of the time. You didn't get your guy through in the general, and now you face another Democrat in the House. Something to think about. All right. Like and subscribe. Appreciate it when you guys do. Helps us out big time on the YouTube, and we appreciate all that stuff you guys do. We'll be back again tomorrow. More wacky-do stuff. Check out ChadBensonShow.com. You can find out where I'm playing 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to noon on the East Coast on the radio. You guys have an amazing rest of your Monday, and be kind to each other because it's not